Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hello, hello, how do you do? We are the boys and girls in white and blue, and we're back with another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful and very snowy British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
Hi, I'm Steve Pander.
Hi, I'm Harjeet. How's it going?
Yes, Har is back. It's a busy show, and when there's so much to talk about, we've got to get Har on to chat about it. I had this show all planned, all the 4 parts, what we were going to do. We had a very exciting interview with a Whitecaps player that we were going to bring you in part 2, which meant that the show was going to come out on Tuesday night. But breaking news today has kind of changed things up a little bit. So we're going to hold that interview back to the next show and move everything back a segment as well, because we have to kick off with the big breaking news of the day. Ding dong! That's the breaking news bell. Nick Bontis has resigned as president of Canada Soccer.
So long.
Farewell. I really thought the German would come in with Auf Wiedersehen, but there we go. Letting us down. Yeah, just for anyone that has missed what has been a crazy kind of 48 hours timeline, I'll just quickly recap some stuff. On Saturday, Victor Montagliani was re-elected as president of CONCACAF. Nick Bontis was elected unopposed as vice president. A dog just howled in the background. That was perfect timing. I hope the podcast picked that up, because that was so apt. Even the dogs weren't happy with that. On Monday, TSN's Rick Westhead ran a story that the 13 provincial and territorial members of Canada Soccer had sent Canada Soccer President Nick Bontis a letter demanding his resignation. The letter said provincial members had no confidence in Bontis's leadership, and the letter read, "With the unanimous support of all members of the President's Forum, I am requesting your resignation as President of Canada Soccer effective immediately." That was President's Forum's chair, Kevin Topolaniski, who is from Soccer New Brunswick. The letter continued, "The President's Forum, representing the member associations of Canada Soccer, is requesting your resignation due to non-confidence in your leadership of Canada Soccer." So, I mean, the one thing we can say about Nick Bontis' tenure is he has united all of the Canadian soccer provincial organisations. I mean, that takes some doing. Well done there, Dr. Nick. The feeling is that they're also going to be asking for General Secretary Errol Cochrane to resign too, and we'll get to that. Hours later, if even that, Bontis resigned with a letter sent to media stating that he acknowledges that this opportunity to sign a new CBA is historic, and that to get it done, the moment requires change. So let's get your first initial thoughts on that. Let's kick things off with Har. What did you think when you read the Rick tweet and then getting that message from Canada Soccer today?
I think it's about time. The writing was clearly on the wall. I think maybe it even should have happened last spring with the debacle with the Canadian men's national team over the game in Vancouver against Iran. I think maybe it should have happened then. It's kind of a slow train wreck, and it took the women's team threatening to go on strike and then threatening to sue them. All that transpired and kicked off. So I think it's a step in the right direction, but I think a lot more needs to transpire and takes place. It depends on who's going to be the interim president and who's going to lead Canada Soccer going forward. So it's a small step, but I still think a lot more needs to be done, and we'll see what happens going forward.
I think, Zach, when you receive a letter like that from all the heads of soccer across Canada, your position's untenable by that point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it was, I think, good to see him respond quickly in the way he did. You wish other
I will
people
give him credit for that, actually. He did respond in a very timely manner.
You wish other people would recognize that they've lost confidence and maybe step aside. But I think he did the right thing. I will say, not just to play devil's advocate, I think there's a lot that Nick Bontis did, and a number of ways he approached some things that I didn't like, that I didn't think were the best, whatever. But I do think on some of these things, he also was caught between a rock and a hard place.
I mean, his hands are tied in some regards to some of the issues.
But ultimately, hopefully this will help things move forward in a positive way. So question about, with him resigning, does that mean he cannot be the VP of CONCACAF?
Interestingly, no.
Yeah. Okay.
Rick, I think it was Rick Westwood. Somebody, I'm pretty sure it was Rick, was speaking to somebody at CONCACAF this afternoon, and
I thought it was Tannenwald.
It was JT. Sorry, yeah, it was Jonathan Tannenwald, a good friend of the show, that spoke to a CONCACAF representative that said, basically, no, there's nothing in the guidelines to say that he needs to step down now as vice president of CONCACAF. He can still keep that role. You would hope he would have the decency and realise that him staying in that would be a little bit toxic moving forward for some stuff. But yeah, he could stay on. He did stand unopposed, so it's like, is there anyone else actually wanting to stand up to the plate and do that job? But I mean, we touched on it right at the off there, Har. It does feel that a clean house could be needed here. So does Errol Cochrane, the General Secretary, survive?
It's hard to know because we don't generally hear from Earl. I know that he always has his phone on, but we don't know what he's talking about, what he's thinking, what his role is. So I don't know if Earl's going to survive. He might. We'll see if he gets promotion or what his role is. Hopefully he moves on and the house is cleaned. I don't know. We're mentioning Bontis and the CONCACAF Council. I mean, that's pretty nifty. I'm going to leave this job as president, but I've got this one over here in my back pocket. So it's not a bad day for Nick Bontis. And so we'll see what happens to him, and we'll see where Earl goes in his telephone.
No, I mean, that's hard. I think it is a bad day for Nick Bontis. I mean, you're coming off, overseeing your country's first qualification for World Cup. And for him, I think it was saying like, look, I'm also going to be in charge of the federation when we host. So I think it's a horrible day for him. If he wants to continue his football fandom, as he likes to talk about, he gets to do it with CONCACAF now. But so he gets to be involved in a different way, which, maybe that's good, maybe that's bad. It's
not a horrible day, though. He's got like an ace in his pocket. So
he's still got a job.
Bit bad. He's doing pretty well.
But no, but in terms of the clean house, yes, I think I probably actually have more concerns with Earl Cochrane than I had with Bontis previously, and I don't know much about him, whatever, but and I don't know him personally. Bontis I only met once, but there's just something about Earl Cochrane I don't think is the best for continuing in this role, the CSA in this moment. And I've had other people tell me, previously in this last whatever year of turmoil, that he is qualified and he does bring something to the table. But I think I think there are moments in an organization when it is very much needed that the old leadership is replaced, and I think this is one of those for Canada Soccer.
Earl Cochrane was with TFC
Yeah,
during their dumpster fire days, so that
yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
bring a lot of confidence with Mr. Earl there.
Oh, yeah, totally hard. That's one of the reasons why I have a sort of a bad taste in my mouth for his leadership.
So, Steve, are you surprised that it took this kind of pressure from the provincial associations, it feels, for Bontis to go?
I think it was a matter of time. There was just so much negativity towards him, and he really had very few people in his corner. There might be some, old school media types that were not really soccer, invested in soccer as much. But I think there were a lot of people that it's just crushing across, like, especially social media. Social media definitely didn't. No, there was nobody there, and you got people on the men's side and the women's side. Obviously, there was a lot of like red flags, and it just showed that he wasn't really a soccer guy. It seemed like, and I think that was the biggest thing that really led to his at the end. And this obviously this latest event where you're basically the whole thing about the She Believes Cup is it's a number 2 story on TSN, and when does that happen? Right, that's the biggest thing. It's like it became national news, and people were being interviewed and on CBC News and this and that. A huge story, and I think it finally came to a thing that people are realizing that Canada soccer is not being run very well or efficiently, because I feel like they should have enough money to do the minimum, and that's all at this point is what the players are asking for, and they can't even get to the minimum at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said this on the show at the time. I definitely said it to you guys when I was on his introductory media call. I took an instant dislike to him. There's just something about his personality, for want of a better word, that I just didn't take to the guy at all. So no tears from me for sure that he's moved on. The interesting question is who then takes over, because on previous kind of appointments, you're thinking it's going to be somebody that is head of one of the provincial soccer associations right now. I mean, the other alternative is that we go down a different route altogether and maybe appoint a former player to the role. And the only one for me that kind of would stand out just now, Zach, would be somebody like Jason DeVos. Director of Development is his official title at Canada Soccer just now. I mean, how would you feel if a player took over? Would DeVos be the guy that could be the unifying factor in this?
I think DeVos has credibility, outside of his playing days. He's done a lot of work in looking at what we need to do, moving forward as a footballing nation, developing players, and he's been involved, on the technical side of stuff and the coaching staff side of stuff. So he's had, I'd say, like 2 or 3, like multiple perspectives on how things are run and what works and what hasn't worked. And so I think he might be a really good choice. It's hard to think about who are good candidates for this, because this is a very, very difficult role in this moment, right? Yeah. Like this.
Plus, we don't know all the association heads.
Yes.
Personally, so we don't know who's the good ones that would maybe bring fresh ideas, who's the ones that aren't tainted by maybe previous decisions that's been made. So it's an important appointment, I think, and
it is very important.
They have to get it right, because as Bontis said in his statement, this CBA would be historic if they can actually get it done. And you were obviously down at the She Believes Cup. What was the mood like in general there? Because you spoke to the players in person. I'm sure there was a lot of off-record chats between people that were down there and other media. This has to be a decision that they get right, not just for the women's side of things, but the men's side, but also taking Canadian soccer forward in what is a huge 4 years for them.
Yeah, it was not a great mood down there. You could see it hanging over the players, just from talking to them. It's like, do you cover the game? Do you talk about the opponents or the tactics? For the first availability, four spokespersons people came out and they spoke to us, and then there's stuff they can't say. Obviously, they want to say stuff, but there's a labor dispute, so Quinn and Sophie Schmidt and Sinclair and Becky spoke to us, and then throughout the tournament, we were able to talk to Sheridan, Zadorsky, just get their thoughts on. For a lot of the players, it helped just being on the pitch for those 90 minutes and taking their minds away from what's happening, away from the pitch, and just playing soccer. So from that aspect, that helped. But for a lot of them, it's really hard to separate what's going on behind the scenes. And they were asked, can you flip a switch and can you just go and play? And they can't. They can't do that because they're professional athletes, but they want to be paid for what they're doing. They want to be respected and treated well by the CSA, and that's not happening. So it was really tough to be able to talk to them and kind of write what you want to write about, the game and what's happening, but also behind the scenes. And a lot of players, I think, they're contemplating, do I want to stay on this national team if I'm being treated like this? And I saw today Jenna Hellstrom has announced her retirement from the national team, and she was down down with the team she played in the She Believes Cup. So
because she had just come back to the squad, hadn't she?
Yeah, she did. So there's a lot behind the scenes, and I'm curious to see if they'll put out a statement today or tomorrow and see what happens. But yeah, it was really tough because we want to tell their stories, and they're being not treated very well. So it was a catch-22, if you will.
I got a tweet when I had put out the Bontis thing, just saying Bontis is gone, happy party face. Matt Melinovic tweeted back, you think the replacement will be any better? The CSA is broken. And I think that is the danger, Steve, that as Zach touched on, no matter who comes in, they've got a tough job ahead of them. You've got to unite the national team players. You've got to get a deal that they're happy with. You've got to sort out back payments to players. You've got to look at moving forward for youth camps and the World Cup coming up for the women this year, the 2026 World Cup. You've got the provinces not happy with how the game's getting governed just now. It's a giant mess, and it's not going to be an easy thing for someone to come into and just have an immediate fix.
Yeah, that's why I think you need to really rework everything. This season, in a way, if they can get support, if whoever the new person is, and it's somebody that the players are interested in, if they can get support from them, almost have it as I don't want to call it lost season, but kind of like if you want to call it rebuilding season for the national program. And I know, and try to give as much support to the Canadian women going into the World Cup, but everything else kind of gets put on a freeze. And so that they can rework everything and get ready, maybe fourth quarter in this year or beginning of next year, where they kind of rework everything. I think they need a lot of work. And the thing is they'll need quite a few people to help with this, but they can't include too many people, because if you have too many people, you have too many self-interests. And I think you need to have, I don't know what number you would put it on, but you got to do 6 or 7 or 8, maybe up to 10 people. But you don't want to have it where you have a big, committee where you have a forum of people and everybody's in a line to ask questions. Yeah, that works at Comic-Con, but it's not going to work in this kind of thing to rebuild the thing. So for me, you got to have a representative from the women's side, representative from maybe 2 or 3 from the player side, 2 or 3 from the provincial side, and then 2 or 3 who are kind of overseeing the whole thing. And I think that's where you're going to have to do it, to rework and figure out the best solution. The thing is, you don't see this in other sports in Canada. Maybe I'm not following it as much, but hockey has other issues, but they don't have funding issues. And there's other places too. The other team, like basketball, doesn't have these kind of funding issues, it seems like, ever. And the thing is, Canada's soccer or football, you want to say, is the most registered sport in this country. Or if I'm not mistaken, maybe a little bit more. So there's plenty of fees. And they got a lot of sponsorship, and they got a Men's World Cup money coming in, so they should have plenty of money to get this going. And
Speaking of fees,
they might have to you mentioned potential people that we're talking about potential people that can replace. Another person I throw in there. I know that they haven't had that much, but they like experience maybe in management, but could Rita LeBlanc could be an option because she was in charge of the CONCACAF women's side too. She was appointed there, so there's some maybe she's not right away, but maybe she's somebody down the road that could be in charge of Canada Soccer.
That would be an interesting one. Har, would that excite you?
I think that would be a really good, strong hire. I think it'd be a good option, but I will point out she's currently with Portland. That has just had a bevy of scandals and off the pitch issues. So I don't know if that's where you want to go, but
she's used to a mess.
But she's used to she's used to a mess, right?
We'll see. I don't know.
But
you might want to get away from that.
But that's the thing when you brought up the subject, Michael, of former players. Like, yeah, it might seem like, oh yeah, bringing a former player, they'll be able to work with the players better, but being on the other side of things might create even like more problems, right? So you might bring in someone like you might want to bring in someone like Karina and be like, oh yeah, obviously she's going to be able to hammer this out, and the players will get what they want, and Karina will be able to look at the federation's needs. But I don't think it's that simple.
No, but the thing is, if you bring a balance, like if you have maybe like you have one position is a former player, one position is somebody that maybe is more accustomed to admin. Like if you have all the people like Cochrane and Bontis who have never been part of that, then it kind of is unbalanced. If you have a balance of your lead council or lead committee or whatever, that's where it would come in handy.
Last thing in this part, and talking of fees, and I wonder if this was the tipping point for the provincial organisations, because on Friday it was kind of leaked that Canada Soccer has a strategy to raise almost $5 million to help reverse the course of cuts to the national team programming. And that strategy appears to be to ask families to pay an extra $11 a year in registration fees for players across Canada. And I think that didn't go down well when it got out with families and players and people in general. I also don't think it went down well with the provincial organisations. And I don't know if that was the final tipping point, that they've just lost all confidence in them. Because they need to raise money because the CSB deal is still hanging above them like a dark cloud. Lots of folk are being invited to Heritage Committee to speak out about the CSB deal. The feeling is they're going to invite CSB executives. Bontis looks like he's still going to get asked along to testify in it. So, I mean, that's all a mess. So they're looking to raise money from somewhere. Adding it on to the players doesn't feel like the way to go when you're raking in all these sponsorship deals.
Well, interestingly enough, I had a conversation just this last Friday with someone who has started a nonprofit to help deal with how much money is paid by players, by families, to play at the higher levels of the game as you're developing as a young person. And he I think will happily be a guest for us at some point down the road, Michael. A very long-haired David Osted.
Yes, you did mention that to me. So, yeah, we will get David on the show soon. But obviously, we're recording this on Monday afternoon. This is going to have a lot of very quick moving parts. By the time this podcast comes out, who knows what is going to have been announced. Right now, there hasn't been a statement from the Canadian Soccer Players Association. We'll see what else comes out. We'll cover that down the show. But we'll move away from the mess of Canada Soccer just now onto something much, much more fun. The Whitecaps start to this season. We'll be back chatting about that after this.
Hi, I'm Javian Brown, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
I'm looking down on London, but there's little I can see, 'cause I'm living so high up, and it looks so small to me. And I'm feeling so frustrated, 'cause the list are out once more. And when I get home from work tonight, I got like time 40 plus. I say, hey, 40 plus. Oh no, my face don't fit. 40 plus. Just a number on a cancel list. 40 I've lived here for 7 years now, but I don't know anyone. I think the bloke next door is a Jamaican, but he could be an Irishman. And life's no fun in a tower block when you're locked behind your door. I think I must have had enough of living on a 14th floor. I'll tell you, mate, 14th floor. Oh no, my face don't fit.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the final song from our Artist of the Month here at AFTN for the month of February from London, England. Post-punk pioneers, television personalities. That was their debut single, released in 1978. You can find it on a number of their compilation albums. That was 14th Floor. And as I was kind of putting the show together, I thought, it's great. I kept this song for the last one, and I was like, 14th Floor, because obviously I spoke how confident I was the Whitecaps were going to get off to a great start, and I thought they're going to be on the 14th floor, they're going to be on the summit, looking down at the other 13 teams underneath them in MLS West after a very impressive season opening performance. Sadly, that is Seattle that is on the 14th floor after the first weekend of matches, sitting at the top of the summit, looking down. Whitecaps, they finished Saturday night on the 5th floor, managed to rise up to the 6th floor by the end of Monday night, and now we're just left wondering, what button are they going to push? Are they going to be going up, or are they going to be going down to the basement? Yeah, let's see if they push the right button, because we're going to talk Whitecaps RSL in this part. The only one of us that was actually at BC Place on Saturday was Har, who kept sending me messages about how cold she was. I decided it wasn't too bad snow as I looked out my window, but I looked at the forecast and I thought it's going to be really crappy. I don't fancy getting home in that. And it was a good decision looking at some of the things that got stuck in the intersection outside my house right as the game was ending. So we'll get into all of it. The game, it offered so much, you felt at half-time. But by full-time, the enthusiasm, the confident sapping defeat, it was like a bit of a gut punch. I'll start with Har. You watched it play out live. At half-time, you must have thought, oh, this team's looking good. How are you feeling now?
I'm feeling okay. My foot is still a bit sore.
Have you warmed up?
Yeah, I have my hoodie on. I'm gonna make a brew after this, so I'm feeling a little bit better now. Oh, did you mean the game?
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, Har hurt her foot tripping over a rat, I think you said it was, in New York.
That's not what happened.
You said it was a giant rat.
Pizza rat.
Pizza rat.
She sent me very interesting photos of all these bags of garbage on the street, and it's like, hey, no wonder there's so many rats in New York. It was crazy.
Yeah, they got a lot of rats there.
But yeah, the game.
Yeah, the first 60 minutes for the Whitecaps, they were really great for the first 60 minutes. They obviously should have had more than one goal. They created a lot of chances. They were very dangerous offensively, and RSL got nothing going, offensively for those first 45 minutes against the Whitecaps. The defense was strong. They cleared everything. They moved the ball up through the lines. The second half, though, I don't know what happened because the Whitecaps switched off. They did not generate enough chances. Takaoka had to make a whole bunch of saves early in the second half, and then obviously he could not continue that because the defense in front of him was out to lunch. I don't know where they were, but they were not defending.
Well, you could argue they weren't in front of him.
Yeah, they weren't.
Where they needed to be.
He had to make these incredible saves, which obviously he was not able to do. But yeah, their defense was lousy, and it cost them a win.
Did you call him Tapioca?
Takaoka.
Oh,
that's what I heard too.
Yeah.
I heard Takaoka, so I don't know what you two are hearing.
Your audio. Guys.
Always thinking of your stomachs, that's what it is. Zach, what's your just general thoughts of the first match of the season? Did it fill you with excitement for the next 33? 33
I think...
to 50, depending on how the season goes.
Right. I think for Whitecaps fans, I think the bottom line is they got out coached. I think, and I know there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of rash hashtags and whatever comments online, but I think when you look at that game, one coach changed how they played at halftime, and one didn't. And
Can we guess who's who?
The one who did, changed the game. I think I'll let Steve talk about zonal marketing later.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it. I'm glad Steve's on the show.
Yeah, I mean that's it's hard not to see much more than that. Like, yeah, you could say like Hearted, they created enough to score more than one in the first half for sure. There was lots of encouraging signs in the first half, but once the opponent adjusted, there was no counter adjustment, and that is that can't happen at this level. So
what's your general thoughts, Steve? Because we haven't had you on for the pre-season build-up and things were going well, so we thought, well, we'll get you on when it's not.
Well, maybe it's my fault then. Clearly I'm the jinx. But in this game, it's basically box management. RSL had plenty of it. Har talked about all the chances in the first half, and they did have chances, but they were able to clear those chances. And while they were decent, they weren't dangerous. Like, I felt like McMath, they really didn't have to make that many saves, even though the Whitecaps were in scoring position, because the defenders knew where they needed to be. But if you look at the other side, like, it's a comparison. There was a cross earlier in the first half where it sailed over everybody. It was a Whitecaps cross, and it sailed over everybody, but nobody was at the far post. And what happens in the second half? A crossover there, and Justin Glad's right there to knock it in. And clearly, nobody thought of identifying that zone in the box because nobody was there to mark that guy. He just came out of nowhere, and they were then. And the keeper, I'm going to butcher his name, Takaoka.
Yeah. That's
okay,
perfect.
Takaoka basically thought it was offside because he goes, if how could that guy be so open if he was like onside? Because he was called, and it was clearly onside.
Because when I watched it back, it's like, what is he appealing for?
Yeah, but I think he's just seeing a guy like by himself over there. He's thinking he's offside. That's how open he was. So I think it was just like he wasn't expecting it. So probably
but the problem is they play the zone in training. But there's never a Whitecaps player in that zone, so that zone doesn't exist when they're training against it.
Oh yeah, I guess I don't. I'm not at the training session, so I don't know where they're placing people. But clearly, somebody even if there were a number of players that were with Glad at the because Glad had a running start. None of them followed him. They all stood in their zone, like just stand there. Like, I don't understand. Is zonal marking standing? You still got to move around in your zone in order to watch players.
It was crazy. There was a line of like 5 or 6 of them. Just
I think that's what it is. Box management, and it's been in past years too. They never seem to know where to put people. There's never a Whitecap at the far post ever since Jordan Harvey left. There hasn't been a player at the far post, and because remember that season he scored a lot of goals. It was all at the far post. It seemed like, and so and they don't. I don't want to say mark. They don't zone people, in the box. So I don't get it, this team at all. And I think they deserve. If you look at their full performance, they should have won this game, and they should have had it won in the first half or by the 60th minute. They should. This game should have been done and dusted, and they let RSL in the game, and that's the way RSL plays. And there was a crazy stat where RSL has won so many opening matches they're unbeaten in 14 straight seasons on opening season openers, and most of them on the road.
2023, 13 of those 14 on the road.
Yeah,
that's tremendous.
Hopefully, we don't have them come again next year.
I know, it's like if they get offered RSL, go, nah, you're okay.
Yeah. I would just like to say, far back right post, you can't blame Jake for that one.
I was awaiting you you beat me to it. I was awaiting to throw to you and go, so Har, is it all Jake's fault?
Yeah.
He was at fault for one of the goals in St. Louis,
yeah. I was going to say, he made up for it in his own game.
The lineup going into this one, now, Har and me had seen what it was when we turned up to training on Friday, and I was a little surprised Laborda didn't get the start. they moved Blackman into the middle and they had Brown at right back. Now, obviously, when Brown gets the opening goal, you think, oh, well, you can't knock Vanny for that. It's paid off. They've kept a clean sheet in the first half. Brown's got the goal. Maybe it was quite good. In hindsight, I think we need to get Laborda in there. And
For sure.
I don't understand in the home opener, when by all accounts he's had a really good pre-season, why he did not get the start in that match.
It's probably sports sciences. Maybe
He
the
didn't
stats
understand
show
the
that
zones.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it could be.
Still learning the zones. That's obviously what it is. Daho getting the start, I was happy with that. I'd have had him instead of White. Actually, are the Whitecaps, so obviously there's been sponsor changes. Are the Whitecaps do they still have a sponsorship deal with Clearly Contacts?
Sure.
Because maybe they should give it to Brian White if he thought the goal in that first half was at the corner flag when that ball came in for him.
He is in poor form.
You would have
Yes.
had that bonus goal we always talk about in the old residency games when they had the net in the far corner. And we
Oh,
said,
yes.
if the goal goes in there, it's a bonus.
I had to put in my match report a very out of form Brian White, and someone replied going, that's generous.
Yeah. True.
The thing is with Brian White too, he didn't even have to head it. He was so wide open in the box, he could have even brought it down to his feet and
Could
scored
have made
the
a
goal.
cup of tea, got a custard cream off her, and still gone back and tucked that away in the corner.
But then there were other chances
tapioca pudding.
Yes.
Dahomey not chipping the keeper McMath, when he just couldn't get a handle on it, he could have chipped him and that would have been in. There's so many lost chances for them.
Was Cordova just not match fit to start?
Yeah. So he's still getting up to speed. I mean,
so Michael, you would have had Dajo up front for White, and you would have Vite next to Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, it was a good first half performance. I had someone messaging me going, "What is this team? Is this Barcelona?" Just the way that they were knocking the ball about. The ball movement was great.
That was Will Silver, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to name him because obviously then all went horrible in the second half. It was more like Barcelona's under-12 team in the second half.
Well, actually, it's like Barcelona this year.
Oh, fair. There were a few scrambles at the back in the first half. Not much more. Javane Brown gets the go-ahead goal, which, when I first saw it, I thought, oh, great header. Then I saw a replay. I was like, oh, it's more just kind of hit off his shoulder. Then I saw it from another angle, and it was a fair enough header. I think McMath should probably have done better with it.
Yeah, because he got a hand to it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's the one you kind of want to at least get pushed away, if nothing else, and see what happens after that.
It didn't look great for McMath, but he did enough to get them a victory.
Yeah, and it was great for Javane's confidence. No one expected him to get the start, but his goal made him the 12th Whitecap player to get a season opening goal. So that gave me a bit of an idea here. We're going to have a fun game. I know how much you all like your game, so Zach's got his hand up already.
I want to answer another question.
Well, I've got various questions. So you can jump into some of them, and then I'm going to go around you all to see. I'm going to check to see whose fingers are fiddling. I don't want to see any fiddling. There. Okay, question 1. Javane Brown became the 12th player to score a season opening goal for the Whitecaps in 13 seasons. Who is the only player to have scored in 2 first goals of a season for the Whitecaps?
Obviously.
I see her fiddling.
Is it Montero?
No.
No.
He's not
Is it
scored
Eric?
any. No.
Was it Camilo?
No. This is how
Wait.
this is how entertaining the Whitecaps have been recently. That's all I'll say.
It's not. Did someone say Octavio?
No, it happened in 2021 and 2022 as the 2 seasons.
Oh,
Oh, COVID years.
so it's recent.
I was there.
That's why I said.
Was it Jake?
No, it
Didn't
was Lucas Cavallini.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I think he's dead to everyone.
Yeah,
so-
we've forgotten him already.
Yeah.
But
Did he
that,
get a yellow card in those games?
probably.
Well,
I
he
would
ran in
bet.
one of them.
Yeah, I remember that.
Who has scored the quickest first goal of the season for the Whitecaps?
What position is it?
Scorer.
The Whitecaps have a position scorer, Michael?
They did in
I
this
don't-
year.
I don't remember very many first goals.
Quickest.
They don't usually score. Pedro Morales.
No.
No.
Who's the
Sebastian Fernandez?
I
No.
wanna
You're,
say
you're
with-
halfway right.
Nicholas Mosquito,
No.
because they were acquired at the same time. That's what I thought.
Sebastian
Oh.
Berhalter?
No. You're halfway right.
Sebastian
Someone named Sebastian.
Sebastian Leroux.
Letou.
Letou.
Yes.
Boo. That's
It
why I
was
didn't remember that.
Sebastian.
This is badly letting down our knowledge of the Whitecaps.
I'm trying to forget.
Well, I'm waiting.
it.
There's one question I know. I know the answer to. I'm waiting for it.
Ah.
I know one of the first goal scorers.
So we've scored in the first game of the season in all but 2 MLS seasons. What season did we not get our first goal of the year until the 3rd game of the
Was
year?
that
That's got to be Carl Robinson year.
No, one of them is just recent. One of them because they lost for the first time under MDS, I think.
I want to say
right?
2019.
Yeah,
No.
something like 2020. No, 2020 they lost, but they scored.
2017.
No.
2014.
21.
Closer.
2020.
2018.
22.
Yes, 2022.
Oh,
Last
okay.
season, no one seems to have any memory of this.
I don't have any memory of any games. I just remember a certain.
I don't have any memory of anything beyond
That's
this
so
year, to
normal.
be honest.
Like first goals, I don't know. It just doesn't compute. Like, it has to be a big goal for me.
There's
to
one that
remember it.
stands out. There's a couple that stand out to me, but
Yeah, well, this final part of our quiz is not going to go well then, because I was going to go round you all one at a time, starting with Har, to say we've named Lucas Cavallini,
Yeah.
we've named Sebastian Letou, we've named Javane Brown. So that's 3 of the 12 players that have scored season opening goals for the Whitecaps. I
Yeah.
just want you to name, and we're going to go round the wall, Zach, one at a time. We're going to want you to name me one other player that scored a season opening goal, starting with Har. There's 9 to get.
I'll go with Eric Hasseley.
Correct, in 2011. Steve.
I want to say Gershon Kofi.
oh come on!
Yes, correct, Steve.
Against Toronto FC.
2013.
Yeah, that's the
59th
one that-
minute winner against TFC.
Now I'm not going to remember any of the others. You know, like when you don't need information, like on your computer, and you like put it in the trash can, you press empty. Okay, I'm going to say Octavio Rivero.
Yes, in 2015.
Yeah.
So we've got 11, 12, 13 and 15 taken care of. 2014,
Oh, I know
we've
that
still
one.
got a guy that we're
I know
looking
that
for.
one.
Har, give me a name.
For what? For any years?
Any player that has scored the very first goal of the season for the Whitecaps.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say E-Money.
Yes, 2017.
Nice.
Second minute in the second game of the season away to San Jose.
He only scores big goals and then does nothing else for the rest of the year.
I'm impressed so far. Steve.
I think Jordan Harvey scored once.
Yes,
Open.
2016. Right in the stroke of half time. The first game against Montreal, a 3-2 loss.
That's the
Zach.
loss I was thinking of. Okay,
So we've got
Uh,
2014, 18,
yeah.
19, 20 to still get.
okay. The 14 one, I know 3 of the 4 scorers. But I'm going to guess. If it's not, yeah, okay. I'll go Kenny Miller.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that's not fair. You pointed at
Because-
yourself.
Well, because in that game it was Kenny Miller scored and Pedro Morales and Sebastian Fernandez.
I'll give you all the 3 of you clues for the last 3. So we're looking for 2018, which is one of Har's favourite interviews.
Freddie Montero.
Ha, no. 2019 and 2020. Now it's a free-for-all. See what you can shout at.
Is Eric Godoy one of them?
Yes, in 2019.
Nice.
Yeah, I got 3.
Veselinovic.
No.
I thought maybe you got an own goal.
Did Jake get one in like 20?
Yes.
Nice.
And the last one, Har's favourite interviewee,
What year?
Really?
2018?
2018,
Oh, that could have
just recently been transferred to a new team.
Kai Kamara?
Kai Kamara, yes. Yes, Kai Kamara in 2018. So that was a
I
bit of
love
fun.
Kai
I'm sure
Kamara.
you all did
He's
better at
awesome.
home. What was that, Har?
Kai Kamara is awesome.
Kai Kamara is awesome, and I would have loved to have him back here.
My
putting
two
away some of these
favorites,
chances.
obviously Eric Hasley and Gershon Kofi. Eric was because of it was so momentous, and then Gershon Kofi because it was momentous for us
He
as
didn't
well.
score many goals.
Well, and he came over
should
and
have done better.
celebrated, and he celebrated. No, that was a different game. He celebrated after, but yeah, I think that was the first day we did like a post-match celebration and jersey swap. So I think one of our,
Ah.
I think my
We're talking
son
about
has a jersey. I think.
while we're talking about former players who played for the Whitecaps, shout out to Tim Parker for having
Yeah,
the first goal
first
for
goal.
St. Louis.
Yes,
Oh,
we will come
you
to that in our MLS
spoiled
roundup in the next part.
MLS review.
Oh, I
You
can't wait
spoiled
till
it.
then, Michael.
I know. Right away when he scored, before I did anything, I messaged her. When Timmy scored,
Did you message her right when Jake allowed the other goal?
I did message her and say Jake's at fault for it.
Yeah.
He wasn't just at fault, but I'd like to have
I
seen
don't
a
want to
challenge
hear
from him.
that. I don't want to hear such
Right,
things.
let's get back to Whitecaps RSL and the horrible second half that we have to talk about. We have touched on some of it already. RSL, as Steve mentioned, they kind of just took the game by the scruff of the neck in that second half. I don't know what happened to the Whitecaps, and it is a difference in halftime team talks possibly from the coaches, and one coach just managed the game differently in the second half. The Whitecaps kind of felt, it wasn't that they were resting on their laurels, but they kind of seemed to go that they just wanted to knock the ball about and not kind of just go for the jugular and get that killer second.
I think one of the things that one of the adjustments that Mascherani made was Mascherani, right? Yeah,
I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a great coach.
Pablo. One of the things I think he did was in the first half, I think they were pressing the Whitecaps a lot, and the Whitecaps were getting some joy from either breaking through the press or countering the press. And in the second half, I think they stopped doing that. They stood off them more, and they weren't able to create the way they did in the first half.
The Whitecaps certainly gave up the ball. They seemed happy to just let RSL knock it about. And then we had the Takaoka show. 4 saves in a 6-minute spell. The one to turn away Julio, his kind of cross that came in, the one across goal, that was probably the best for me, closely followed by the sprawling one to turn away Savarino.
Yeah.
Now, small sample size, but it does feel like this is a big upgrade, on what we saw in goal for the Whitecaps the last couple of seasons. Well, maybe last season. I don't know if it's an upgrade on Max, you could say, but...
Yes, after one game, though, it is an upgrade. He made some very sharp, some key saves. It looked like he was keeping them in the game for the first part of the second half when RSL was trying to find an equalizer. Obviously, that was not sustainable. But yeah, I think he made some key saves. I think as the season goes on, he's going to get more comfortable with his defenders and Youssef and playing on that wonderful pitch there at BC Place. So I think in the first game, it's a good start. It's a good opening game for him. We'll see how he progresses. Obviously, there's a lot of games. I don't expect him to play all of them. But from like a first game, good review, good positive play from Yohei.
I'm a little bit concerned about, but I know some people mentioned this obviously before. I think he's a good shot stopper. I think it's encouraging that he's good with his feet. I think his lack of size will be an issue.
See, I don't know that it is, but I know a lot of folk have made a lot of this.
He reminds me, I guess, in an MLS context, I was thinking about this. He reminds me of, we were playing Salt Lake. Reminds me of Nick Romando, who was a great shot stopper, but was also not super tall.
He was also one of the best goalkeepers in MLS, Steve. It's like if he ends up like a Nick Romando, I'll bite your hand off for that.
Marius always said, "Go for the post, go for the post" when you're playing Nick Romando. So that's where one of the first goal went for sure at the post.
Yeah, but I do agree that overall, I definitely think it's an upgrade for them.
So that first goal, are we going to talk about the goal that we gave up? That first goal, if you look at the replay, yes, we already talked about it, the zonal marking. And if you look at the box when the goal goes in, everybody's in the middle of the box.
Yeah.
Nobody's even spread out in the box. But also, that's so much time. Nobody, like, they need to spread people out. They had that guy in the, around, I don't know, the 30, 40-yard mark that crossed it in. He had so much time to, like, figure out where he wanted to put it.
Yeah, it's like they didn't expect the corner to go there, and they didn't know what to do to defend it.
Yeah, and there was just one person covering the wide areas. Like, if they had a winger, they might be able to cover that wide area and figure out what to do. Well, that's
Vanny doesn't like wingers.
Yeah, I know. But seriously, they had it was like a single file line of people in the box, and I don't know how you don't move, you don't follow people running into the spaces. It just doesn't make sense to me. So that was a big thing. Like, yes, the box was an issue, but not giving so much space to them, it was just such a bad call.
But there was 8 Whitecaps in the box, 4 RSL players. 2 of those 4 players didn't have a man picking them up. And there's 5, arguably 6 Whitecaps players that are in their zone and they don't actually have a man. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it was some bad defending. The Whitecaps just didn't look set. If you look at the replay, they don't look ready. They don't look set for when that ball is coming in. And I think Vanny post-game, he said that Javain, he made the right decision in regards to the zone. He can only mark a certain area, so he marked the right decision area. But then I'm like, what about the other guy? He's just going in and scoring the goal. So I don't know who the other guy was that's supposed to mark it if Javain's in the right spot. But I was confused by that, and I didn't know about that answer.
That was a crazy response, right?
If it wasn't Javain's fault, then it was somebody else. It's the person who was near the top of the box. Because if you look at it again, there's like 5-6 people at the edge of the box when you're covering a corner. Like, it's just I have a feeling you're right. They probably weren't set, ready to go. But when the ball's in, you had enough time for the setup. I don't know what it was like. Maybe we have to look at the replay to see how much time they had to set up, but it shouldn't take you that long to figure out. You had preseason training. You should know what zone you're supposed to be in. Yeah. And I'm sorry, if your zone is near the top of the box, like at the edge of it, and somebody runs in towards the net, hey, have a follow.
Yeah,
see what he's up to.
You've got to have awareness of what's going on around.
Two lines.
Like, imagine. Like, maybe the guy was concerned, if I leave my zone but I stopped the goal from going in, will I get in trouble? Maybe I'll get benched because I didn't stay in my zone. I'm seriously concerned about that when you get zonal marking. How strict are they?
I know. I mean, if Vanny's defending it, then, and it's like, okay, fair enough. Javain had his man in that zone. That's who he was looking at. But then, as you say, someone then was in a zone that they shouldn't have been in. So there was all these Whitecaps players that didn't have a man. They were marking space. And to be fair, the space didn't score. So they did a good job there. They managed to keep space off the score sheet.
It's a bit of a mixed zone.
But they all looked like they were marking the same space, didn't they? They were all, like you said before, they were all jumbled up in the middle.
It was,
or in a line in the middle anyways.
I mean, the only other thing you could maybe say is, should Takaoka have come out to punch that ball away? Or did he rightly feel that one of those defenders was going to deal with that cross coming in?
Yeah, with the expectation of 8 people being in the box, maybe he thought that, because they weren't set up. They weren't set up to take the cross in from that angle. So maybe he was trying to adjust it. Maybe he figured it was going to be a short cross and he was going to have to stop it on the line. Maybe he felt he was going to get to it because it was too hard to judge. But if you look at number 16 sending in the cross, he still has even once the Whitecaps player gets close to him, he just stops. He doesn't keep moving. Like, what are you worried about? Even if he outdeaks you, there's 8 people behind you. Sure, they might not be able to leave their zone, but there's still 8 people behind you. I really got to get away from this zone.
Yeah. Well, the second goal wasn't much better because, again, Vanny after the game said that everyone did everything right. And it was just one split second of mistiming, I think he said, of Kubis, that it all kind of unravelled. And it's like, I'm not so sure about that. Savarino danced into the box. Neither Kubis nor Brown I felt, covered themselves in glory with it. It was played back to Krylak, who had a really quiet game. They'd kind of kept him at bay. And Damir unleashed a curler past Takaoka, what proved to be the winner. But Krylak again was just wide open to get onto that ball.
Again, Mike, I think it's a failure of communication to talk about these goals in this way from the head coach. Like, you can't go around saying
I will
everyone
say
did everything perfect.
Split instant after the game, so maybe when he sits down over the weekend and looks at it back, like when we speak to him this week, he might have a different thought on it.
That doesn't matter. You can't say everyone did everything perfect, but we still got scored on. Like, that's not. I don't know.
It was a good finish, but he was wide open to get the ball.
Yeah, no, it is possible to do that if somebody has an individual effort in order to make the goal happen. You could see that, but when you have like the two players that were near Krylak when he shot the ball, they were basically ball watching, and they weren't really paying attention to what's coming up behind him, and that's a major issue with the Whitecaps. You have other teams that pay attention, have a good surroundings, and good knowledge of what is coming up in the box. You just can't pay attention to the boxes, then you're going to get stuck up on. Mm-hmm. And it was like the first goal and the second goal, which is only like 3 minutes after the first goal. It wasn't even that big of a gap. So it was just, they weren't paying attention. They should have knowledge of what's coming into the box in order to make sure, because you can't, it's not a guarantee that, Kubas and Brown are going to be able to stop that ball, get control of that ball. So it's just really poor, like, very poor awareness when you're in the box of what's coming in there. It's like it just needs to change. And the reason why I'm harping on this so much is because the Whitecaps, since their inception in MLS, seem to always have that problem. Never good awareness in the box.
Yeah. I mean, after falling behind, they didn't really have anything, it felt, to get back into it. And it was a disappointing end to a promising start. I've kind of split a couple of other things into like good, bad and ugly. So on the good side, it was good to see Javain Brown with a goal. I think it's great for his confidence. Some of the fast-moving interplay in the first half was great to see, and having that extra man kind of getting forward that Vanny wants was paying off in the first 45 minutes. I thought Kubas was getting forward well in the box-to-box role. You had Takaoka's saves in the second half. That was all the big positives for me from it, unless anyone's got anything else to throw in there. Zach?
Yeah. I think good job on the Whitecaps for getting, selling almost 20,000 tickets, with so much snow. I think had there not been snow, I think they would have easily gotten the 20,000 that they were predicting. And good thing on all the fans who made it out, aside from Harjer, of course, or in addition to Harjer, like it looked like the people who went had a lot of fun marching in the snow. And I think in general, the atmosphere in the stadium seemed good on the broadcast. And I think that was I know people in the stadium were stoked at halftime. And so, I think there was a lot of positives, from that part of things for Vancouver.
I was cock a hoop. I thought we were going to go on and get the 3-0 prediction that I'd put down.
What did I said 3-2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching some show this week where someone used the phrase cock a hoop and the person had no idea. Oh yeah, it was Fantasy Football League. And one of the presenters, I think it was Mark Lucas, had said cock a hoop. And one of the other guys had no idea what they were talking about. So it's not just you guys that have never heard that phrase before when I first used it.
I miss fantasy football. That was fun.
The bad side of things, I didn't think Tristan Blackman was great in this game. There was a couple of lapses from him. I would like to have seen him more, as I said, on the right backside. Not capitalising on that first half play with more than just one goal was bad as well. And I joked about that miss from White, but that was a horrible effort from White.
Do you mean like right back or right centre back?
I'd like Blackman as right back.
Oh, okay.
And Laborda in the middle. Or we get rid of Veselinovic and have Blackman and Laborda in there as well. Martins I didn't think was great, if we're still talking about the defence as well. I liked the glimpses that we saw of Ali Ahmed, and Ali's obviously going to get minutes over the course of the season. Martins had a great end to the year, and I'd have had him in as a starter. Now I'm not so sure. I'd maybe throw Ali in for the San Jose game.
I didn't think Martins was that bad. I do agree though that Ali came on and he added impetus to the side. I thought oh, they're going to hit an equalizer here with the way he was with some of the passes he was making and his movement forward. In terms of the bad, yeah, like I said before, I think the lack of being able to readjust to Salt Lake's adjustments at the half stands out like head and shoulders above anything else.
How big a problem is Brian White's form just now? He's obviously on a big ticket. And Har, I know you've spoken a lot to him last year about his up and downs and his injuries and everything. He just seems so out of form. Is it just going to be a case, if he gets that goal, that he's just going to get that confidence back? He just did not seem at it at all on Saturday.
I think confidence is a huge factor with Brian White. He had, not a great season last year. He had all the injuries. He had the COVID and just fighting to get healthy all throughout last season. So coming into this season, he's the number one striker until Cordova comes in and kind of takes over if he does do that. So there's a lot of pressure on Brian White. Maybe there's a lot of expectations, and missing that first chance is not a good start to the year. But I would still give him some more time to see how he gets going. Obviously, the offense, Gald and Gressel and the home, it was okay. It wasn't great. They created the chances. They just didn't finish all those chances. So I wouldn't say it's all Brian White. I would just say because he had the miss, that's what we're talking about. So I think it's a collective effort. And if some of the guys can get going in turn, I think it will help guys like Brian White to get going as well.
Two things. One, it's not an if, it's a when Cordova takes over.
Yeah.
But two, my other thing I wanted to ask is, as poor as Brian White, I think, was both in front of goal and in some of his movement going forward, do you still think that Vanny will appreciate his overall contribution to pressing and how they play?
Of course.
I think he will. Okay. I don't think that's the right way to look at it, though. I don't think that's what the team is needing just now. And the fact he's got no goals in pre-season either is a huge concern. I was going to actually ask Vanny on Friday how concerned he was, but I thought, I'll save that. Maybe the day before the season opener in front of all the media there's maybe not the best time to ask him that question. So I'll save that for his midweek call this week.
I think for me, the whole thing about Brian White is I think he's going to be more valuable off the bench eventually. I think once Cordova, whatever his match fitness or figures out where he's going to be, like with their technique and what he needs to do, I think he'd be the ideal guy up front. I'd like to see either Christian Dahomey or somebody else play alongside him instead of Brian White, and have Brian White as an option off the bench. So if they need to do pressing, they do the pressing in the second half, because they need that spark off the bench on the second half. And I think Brian White's more valuable there. Instead of, because you could see the second half of this game, they had Ali Ahmed, but they didn't have anything up front to push RSL. And I think Brian White might not be somebody that can go 90 minutes and might be somebody that's better off the bench.
I think Dajo with Cordova up front will be quite interesting, Steve, as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully as well when Caicedo is fit, we can get him back involved.
I think their formation was bad too. I'm not a huge fan of this Christmas tree. If it was the Christmas tree that they were, because that's the way they showed it on Twitter. It was a 4-3-2-1. I personally would prefer, because I think people might get in the way of Kubas. I like Kubas by himself in front of a back four. So I like a 4-1-3-2 or something like that if you're going to do something, or a 4-1-4-1 or something like that. That's what I'm looking for when I want a formation. I just think Kubas doesn't need to have that many people hanging around him. I think it put him off his game a little bit because he had too many people in that in the area. I was going to say zone again.
I think maybe they missed a certain Tosaint Ricketts off the bench for the last 15 minutes there.
They could have done with some spark.
That's what I mean. Brian White could be the Tosaint Ricketts type of player that they need on the bench.
Paying him too much, though.
That's what Simon Betcher, you're looking for him to be this year.
Yeah, but you can't have everybody on the field, so you need to put people in their spots. Yes, he's an expensive player, but where's that harmed Vancouver in the past? We always talked about how much money they had on the bench.
Toss worked harder yesterday than some of the players, man. He did the full day's work. He was out.
He did.
Supporters. He was engaging with people. Leave him alone.
Yeah, he
do his job.
What were your thoughts of Cordova? Because
is his head okay?
Yeah, as far as we know, yeah.
Okay.
There was times he showed some decent hold-up play, But there was also times he was just kind of running around as if he'd never met the guys in his life before, and like lumbering around like a newborn foal out there. So I will need to see a few games to see what he's like, but hopefully he is the guy that they need up there. He's certainly got the height.
The concern is last year when he was with RSL, he had a slow start as well.
Yeah,
and I think
because it was later on. Yeah,
all his goals came in the second half of the season, or a high majority of them came. So hopefully he doesn't. We don't have to do that waiting for him.
He's the Utah Brian White.
Yeah.
Couple of ugly things for me. One, the defending on both goals, as we've talked about, especially the first one, continuing to mark space and not actual human beings. But the other ugly thing for me came in what I feel was the game-changing minute, which was in the 67th minute. 3-man Whitecap break. Gold has White and Vitae to his inside, plays the ball inside. Now, a striker is always going to try and take the ball, and that's what White did, but he had a horrible, heavy first touch. He should have left it for Vitae that was wide open. Did Vitae give him a shout? We don't know. That's the thing, because if Vitae didn't give the shout, then that's on Vitae. If Vitae did give the shout, then it's on Gold. But it's on White, yeah. It was horrible. It was just, you go 2 goals up there, and that's a win in the bag, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if do they have code words when they want like the dummy given or something like that, or do they just shout the player's name?
Octopus. That's it might just be Caitlin and me. That's a special word.
But the other thing that I felt was ugly was the pitch on TV. I don't know. Hara can probably tell us what it looked like in person.
Finally, someone's bringing up the pitch.
Yeah, well, we'll talk a little bit about Apple and stuff in the fourth part, but yeah, let's talk about the pitch just now, because it did look horrible on it.
But it often looks horrible on TV, and it looks fine in the stadium.
Yeah.
So how was it in the stadium, Hara?
It looked awful.
Like worse than normal, I guess. What I'm trying to say.
It just didn't look good.
It was very green.
Yeah.
I think maybe the weather is maybe a factor. I don't know how cold temperatures work with artificial turf, but maybe that's a factor. I don't know.
Yeah, it was very similar to like one of the final seasons the Whitecaps had in the USL or whatever. When they went to visit the Rhinos or something, or Baltimore.
Rochester.
Sorry, Baltimore. They were in Baltimore, and the way that pitch looked on YouTube. It actually gave me a headache. I couldn't watch I had to turn off the game. Maybe listen. I listened to it. I couldn't watch it because it was so bad. The visuals.
There's a lot of complaints about it.
Yeah, Caitlin actually said to me, she looked up at one point and she's like, "Oh, that pitch looks awful," and I was like, "Yeah."
Kirk said the same thing. He's like, "Why does the pitch look so awful?" And he's seen it up close lots, right? And he's like, "It looks terrible on TV."
Someone DM'd me as well and said their wife had said, "Oh, it looks terrible." I went, my wife's just said exactly the same thing right at the same time. But there was also an issue for me as well. Like you said, you had some audio things at the start, Zach, that I wasn't picking up. But then it was like kind of like a crackle. It kept going.
Yeah.
It was so irritating.
I heard the same thing. I don't know if it's the like. I didn't notice it in the other games.
No, there was no other games.
Only the Vancouver game.
A couple of the other pitches didn't look great, the artificial ones, but didn't look as bad as BC Place. But there was no other sound issues.
Yeah,
and it seemed to be whenever the stadium, like at the goal, whenever Don Gate spoke, the sound just went to pot.
Yeah, I think they need to. I don't know if it's a sound thing or it's the Wi-Fi thing there, but they need to boost their internet. TELUS is the sponsor. They need to get on there.
At first for us, it seemed like whenever they did a digital thing on the screen, we had this weird audio or whatever. But I don't know. Well, hopefully it's something that they can they look. I saw some other people online asking about it, and I saw a few people say, "Oh no, I had no issues." But I mean, it was better watching it on Apple than it was on TSN.
Yeah, I was going to watch it on TSN. It's like,
so
God, it's Caldwell. Let's get the Apple.
Yeah, and there was a couple of like when the Apple feed ended, and I switched back to the thing. You could you knew they were in the studio because I think they just done the TFC DC United game, right? Obviously, they're not there, but you didn't really make it sound good. So like you gotta, I've seen other people with it doing it in studio and it sounds better. I don't understand why it doesn't sound good. Why these guys can't make it sound good if they're not gonna save money.
How did that work? So Price and Dolan were calling it for Apple TV.
Yeah, so they've been hired as the Apple TV commentators.
Oh, okay.
So because
Which
this
really
was a
makes me-
TSN game, it's the TSN
Which-
presenters.
Really wants to make me want to buy the Apple thing so I don't have to listen to the other guys.
You know what? I'd rather. I mean, I just don't. I'm not a fan of Price. Like I don't dislike Caldwell the way you do, Michael. But I like Wildman and I like Dolan. If I could get Wildman and Dolan together, that would be my.
See, I don't-
pairing of the four.
Yeah.
I don't mind Price, but I feel Dolan's superior to Caldwell. Like Price,
Yeah.
I can
I'm with you
whatever.
on that.
I think
don't
Blake's
have like
got
a
a lot
hatred.
better doing this. I
think so
actually
too.
really like Blake doing these. Now, one other ugly thing from the game that I missed at the time. I missed while we were recording this podcast, but I saw it after we had finished recording on Twitter, and I was so pissed off, I've jumped back on the mic to record this extra bit to splice into the show, to go in the ugly thing, because this is one of the ugliest things that you see in football, and that is a spitting incident. RSL's Jasper Loffelsund got a yellow card in the first half for a tackle on Christian Dahomey. When you watch the video back, the replay from an angle, as Dahomey's hitting the deck, you see Loffelsund spit towards him. Absolutely disgusting, absolutely scumbag thing for him to do. I hope Disco throw the book at him. Should have been a red card. How did VAR not pick that up? But just disgusting stuff. And I hope he really gets punished for it. I hate spitting so much. Last couple of things quickly. The attendance was 19,614, which is decent, but it's also the third worst home opening attendance that they've had. The worst one was last year, which was 18,043, and then 2017 they had 19,083. These are the only games that's been under 20,000.
Now 19,000. That's tickets sold again, or is that attendance?
Tickets sold.
Tickets sold.
I think it was tickets sold, but it actually looked pretty good. I thought there would be a lot of folk didn't make it down. So
but remember, Vancouver is a walk-up like attendance. Like they're like have walk-up attendance. Like so you're gonna get a lot of people buying at the game or just before the game or something like that, and they probably saw the weather warnings and everything, and they go, I'm not heading downtown. Look at the three of us. We were, there's no way I was gonna go head down that way. So I think if the weather, there wasn't a snowstorm coming, I think you could probably add another 3,000 to 4,000 people that potentially could.
I thought it was a really good crowd. Axel had mentioned 9,000 was just over, a little over 9K was the season tickets. So I was pleasantly surprised they got 19K in there.
Yeah, I think it's season tickets and flex passes is how it's always been before. So that's
So the way they've told us in the past is it's season ticket / season ticket equivalents. So they're two half season tickets equals one full, or however many flex packs equals one full, or that's how they usually calculate it.
So some fun facts. Har's always about the fun facts. Just to end this, this is the 6th time that the Whitecaps have lost their first game. They've had 1 draw in that time as well, and 6 wins. They've made the playoffs 5 seasons in their MLS history, but only once have they done so after losing their first game, and that was 2015, which was quite a special Whitecaps team, really. What's your thoughts heading into San Jose? Is this a team that's going to rebound quickly? Are they going to make the necessary adjustments? Saw a lot of people piling on Vanny online and feeling he was out-coached and he's not the coach to get the best out of this team. Is the pressure on him right away?
I think that there's there'll be public pressure or fan pressure or whatever. I don't think there's a huge internal, I don't think they're pressing the panic button. I don't think Axel, somewhere, downtown is totally freaking out. You might have a conversation, you might be disappointed at the lack of adjustment, whatever. But I think to Vanny's credit, hopefully he learns from that and learns that they needed to make adjustments to counter our sales adjustments. And going into San Jose, I think San Jose, like we'll talk about in a few minutes, Michael, are also coming off a very disappointing 2-1 opening day defeat where they felt they should have gotten something from it.
They really should have got something from it.
So I think based on to what we talked about in the preview show of the season, if you're Vancouver, you got to be going to San Jose expecting to get no less than 1 point.
Yeah, I would say Vanny is right now. I personally would see Vanny as like somewhat on a short lease. I don't think they're panicking, but they're going to give him, if this doesn't, like, if results are very similar to last year where they have a bad start, within 10 games, I could see him out the door and they bring somebody in because they need to get something out of this season.
What is this, 2011?
Well, they've talked so much about needing a fast start. And
Yeah,
it's like
and
they've got off to the worst start.
Yeah,
Well,
and it's only one game. Like, I'm not going to throw
Well,
him under the bus. One
sorry.
game.
Just it's not been a great start.
But if like I could see within 10 games that if they are maybe have 5 points or something like that, one win, a couple draws, and the rest are losses.
Out the Champions League.
Yeah, and that could be something that at that point they realized they have a reset. I wouldn't be surprised that if they had like candidates that they were thinking of before the season even started. Like I would like I've always feel like when you are a team that has had multiple bad starts to a season and it's not going well, I think that's something you have to look at all the time. You have to look the best for the organization. You don't just say, oh, and you do it really quietly, but you kind of have internal talks about whether, what point you're going to do it, because you just can't rely on Uber Eats giving you the motivation to fire somebody.
This sounds a lot familiar with what happened to the coach across the street who was canned while his replacement was waiting like next door to come in.
They made that public though. That's the thing. That's the difference there. They made that very public.
I do think that Vanny is under the pressure, but as Zach said, I don't think it's internally. I think they'll give him a good run to see how he does this season. Like, who are they going to replace him with if he does go? I just don't see it happening for at least maybe a month or two.
Well, that is the thing, right? Are they going to continue after Vanny, whenever that is? Are they going to continue with the not super experienced, cheaper option on the coaching front, or are they going to invest in someone with more experience? The other thing I want to ask you guys were there is in his Friday thing. I found it interesting, his Friday press conference, where he was talking about next year, and he said, if I'm here next year. I felt
that kind of goes back to, he was asked, I think on Wednesday, about the fact, it was on the Donny and Daly show, about how this is the last year of his contract, and does that put extra pressure on him? So I think it was kind of coming out with that as well, but I wouldn't read too much into that. But he knows he hasn't got a contract beyond this year, so he knows the pressure's on. And I would imagine the Whitecaps would go for maybe an assistant in MLS, maybe somebody in a...
Well, we've already talked about it. It's
Washington,
Ricardo
D.C.
Clark.
club or something.
Yeah, no. It would be Ricardo Clark, wouldn't it? That would be the natural Whitecaps progression.
It would be very Whitecapsy. But that is it for our Whitecaps RSL chat. Wasn't the best start to the MLS season for the Whitecaps, but we'll have a look around the rest of MLS West after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gold, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Yesterday, like a bookmark in my mind, I stood up inside the fireplace. We were young, we thought we were renegades, but our path was well worn out. Even common people can't find their place. As I look back now through tired eyes, and a cloud filtered smile,
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's a band from Fife in Scotland. They're East Fife supporters. They do the theme tune for my East Fife podcast, Glory Days of Gold. They're called Got Need. That is the opening song from their new 3-track Filtered Smile EP. It's called Invincible. Go out and support the guys. If you like the song, add it to your playlists. If you want to buy the song on Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your music, please do that to help support them as well. Got Need is the name of the band. They would very much appreciate it. I think that's an absolute belter of a track from them.
Assuming the their name of their thing is from collectibles like soccer cards or hockey cards, because that's what. Yes. When I bought hockey cards back in the day with the that really bad gum, I don't know if you guys, Zach might know, but I was always like got it, need it. That's what every time I opened a new pack.
Yeah, we used to get bubblegum cards in the 70s, and then there was the NASL cards from the 70s as well that came with bubblegum, which I ordered some that still had the bubblegum in it, and I'm tempted. Should I try it? I mean, what could go wrong? I don't think there's any harm.
I was told that gum could last about 100 years. Like, it can last through a nuclear disaster.
So Har says yes. I'll bring it for her at the next home game, and but we'll have half each. It's got no peanuts in it. It's fine.
Okay.
I think it was the 70s. Who knows? Everything was allowed in the 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe we should move on quickly from that. So that song there was called Invincible. And at the end of the first weekend of action in Major League Soccer for 2023, 16 teams still have a chance of being the unbeaten Invincibles of MLS this year. The Whitecaps sadly aren't one of them, of course. 13 teams, 5 of them in the West, have a chance to have 100% records for this season after winning their opening matches. It would be quite something if any team did actually have an invincible season. It's rare just throughout football in the world in general, even with leagues where you've got really top teams running away with it, but always something to hold on for, and some teams still have that opportunity. But let's have a look around the action in the MLS West this opening weekend. We'll kick things off in Atlanta, one of the games of the weekend. Atlanta 2, San Jose 1, and wow. This is why you go out and you sign a World Cup winner. Jeremy Ebobisse opened the scoring for the Quakes with a 13th minute header. Araujo missed a horrible penalty for Atlanta in the 39th minute, missed the target completely. Then San Jose looked like they'd done enough to hold on. The game was heading into second half stoppage time. They must have thought they'd come away with 3 huge points, but then up stepped Thiago Almada. And the Argentine levelled in the 93rd minute, and then hit a stunning free kick winner in the 99th minute. Great start for Atlanta, great start for Almada, with people already talking about he's going to get transferred for a club record fee out of MLS anytime soon. Could we get a World Cup winner, do you think? Maybe one of the homeless World Cups. Some of those guys look quite good. I'm sure they could get them for a pretty good deal here in Vancouver.
Last week, you'll remember I said maybe San Jose overpaid for Ebobisse.
Yeah. What do you know, Zach?
Yeah.
I think
but
this
the game.
is huge...
You said the game was great, but it was. I didn't. The parts of the game I watched weren't that great. Like aside from the comeback at the end.
Maybe just at the end.
The end of the game is usually can alter your thoughts on the entire game. Sometimes.
Yeah.
I just feel like this is a huge year for Atlanta. Because they've kind of like fluttered. They came in obviously huge when they first entered the league, and now really they've kind of middling team, and so they need to like step it up if they wanted to like go with what they were trying to do at the beginning.
Yeah, they're a club in MLS who did very well to take advantage of the increased amount of GAM that new teams get, and as they get weaned off of that, you've seen them kind of decline, and now they've had to refigure themselves out in terms of the playing side. Massive players have moved on, and yeah, this is a nice start to the season for them.
Well, I mean, they don't take GAM everywhere. I tried to get a cauliflower in Loblaws, and they just looked at me like I was some kind of crazy person. Cincinnati 2, Houston 1. Since he took the lead through Sergio Santos, Tate Schmidt headed home a Herrera free kick unmarked 3 minutes into stoppage time to tie things up for Houston, but the parity didn't last long as Wobodo restored Cincinnati's lead 3 minutes after the restart. That proved to be the winner. Not a fantastic game. Houston and San Jose, the two teams that I had down the bottom in the MLS West, getting off to losing starts, keeping the Whitecaps off the bottom spot, so that's good as well. And then I think game of the weekend, and one that and Har sits up right away for this. Austin 2, St. Louis 3. I really enjoyed this. I watched it on Apple in full, end to end action really in this one. Fantastic match and well done, St. Louis City, on their first ever MLS win. They got it in some style. It was a new team's first match with a couple of familiar Whitecaps faces in there to please Har. Both teams had to make subs for injuries in the opening 17 minutes. 24th minute, St. Louis get the first ever MLS goal, and it comes from the head of a rejuvenated Tim Parker. Got to the corner before the keeper, Har, and you were obviously very happy for Timmy, as I think we all were.
Yeah, it was a great goal.
Maybe not that happy then. Then 4 minutes in the first half stoppage time, a sublime Sebastian.
Oh, what a goal.
What a finish. Oh. You think it comes through to him, he's going to take it round the keeper, deft little chip over. That
Fantastic.
was like one of the goals of the weekend.
Yeah.
Harsh though in St. Louis, they were the much better team in that first half. And then Austin went ahead in a nice John Gallagher goal in the 72nd minute. Jake Nowinski's fault, Har.
No, I don't think so.
Should he not have put a tackle in?
I think he was doing the best that he could in that situation.
He had his hands up.
Yeah, the best.
Well, yeah, he saw a police officer on the side of the pitch.
Did you say he did the best he could do in that situation?
What are you, Vanny?
I did say that, yeah.
So another player could have done better. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
I'm saying he did the best in the situation he was put in.
That he could do.
The best situation, yeah.
Maybe he was covering the space really well and he forgot the man.
Oh, possibly. Yes, possibly. But it didn't matter anyway.
But they won the game, so
yes.
Wow. What
I think with time, Jake will get that Whitecaps like stink off him, and maybe it'll take a little bit of time for him to kind of get going. So,
to be honest, I think Jake's a very serviceable MLS player, and he's playing in his proper position of right back. And what a unique idea, playing a right back as right back. It's so unusual.
What about that second goal for St. Louis? What was Austin doing? That
Whoa.
was ridiculous.
I mean, that
was
at the end of your year when you're doing your awards and you've got Hyler of the Year, if anything beats that, I can't wait to see it.
Kirk said to me, he's like, that's like a misplay of the year right there. And it's
well, I think he looked up, saw Jared Stroud and thought, oh, he's on my team.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, I know him. I've seen him at training. Passed the ball back to him. It's like, oh, shit, he's in a different jersey now. And Stride must have been like, oh, okay, thanks very much. I wasn't expecting that. Tucked it away.
And he very, very kindly didn't celebrate.
Yeah, didn't celebrate. I'd have been straight up to Keller going, whoa! Although he didn't get a very good reaction when he got subbed off. He was getting the gears. And it's like, look, the guy's just not celebrated when scoring against you. He obviously still respects you. Maybe give him some respect back. Yeah. Next time he'll be like,
I think that might have been lost on some of those Texans.
Yes. I think, Zach, we were chatting, we felt there was another goal, at least, in the game.
Oh, yeah.
And there was, because if Austin's defence on that second goal was like giving gifts on Christmas Day, then it was fitting that it was a Mr. Claus that then scored the winner, or Klaus, if we want to be exact. The Brazilian DP sending his team and their travelling supporters into ecstasy with a well-taken winner 4 minutes from time. Really nice for them. And
the way he cut back, and then the keeper, I think for sure, he's going inside of his left, and then he used outside of his right. It was a quality.
Lots of patience. Did he get hurt celebrating though? Or did
I think he cramped up, and then it just never came back. Yeah.
And he too. Also, there was lots of banter for him as he was going off.
Yes.
And he was
he was really enjoying it.
Well, he was enjoying it because he was winning. Yeah, he's like,
he just turned. It's like, see that? That was me that did that.
It could be a good rivalry between those teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Austin did hit the bar with basically the last action of the match, but the newbies came away with an impressive 3 points. And we know in this league, getting points on the board early is crucial. And you want to get off to that fast start.
And their defense played great.
Not really. Happy for Roman Berkey and good on Timmy.
And of course, Lutz.
And Lutz, yes.
The one thing is that Kip Keller, how you guys talking about it really, for some reason, hasn't showed up that much on like social media. It's like people have
really. I'm amazed.
Yeah, like on YouTube, like probably maybe on Twitter it's being shared, but on YouTube there's very few videos on it.
Wait till Christmas.
What?
Wait till Christmas. That another Dallas team went down to a 1-0 defeat. This was a horrible game, really. It's 1-0 Minnesota at Dallas. Garcia hit the only goal of the game in the 48th minute after Fragipane's fierce strike was parried by the keeper into his path. He finished with a plum from about 12 yards out. I'd say the worrying thing to take from this game is Dallas, at home, mustered just one shot on target.
Yeah, not good.
They also gave, I have to dig this out, because the post-game, head coach Nico Estevez of Dallas said, "We won the expected goals battle."
Are you serious?
Yep.
That was Greg Berhalter type of line there. Because he's always talking about expected goals.
That is, that's asinine.
That, like, if you're a fan hearing that, I think right away you're like, yeah, I want him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, like, you can talk about that if you're close, but if you only got one shot on goal and you're saying that, it's mind-boggling to me. Because I think something about expected goals is about, like, how the flow of the game was. It shows that you should have scored a number of goals, but I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
The fans can tell him he's winning the race to be the first sack manager of the year in MLS.
Yeah.
To ask him when they come up here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Of course, now watch how hard they'll win here. You won't be able to ask that in the humorous way you want to.
And then Vanny will be like, well, we won the expected goals battle.
Yeah, you could ask that.
Yeah, we covered all the zones.
We were perfect. Perfect.
So the exact quote was, "We won the game on expected goals.
Oh my.
To 0.06. But at the end of the day, it's to score and to execute, and we didn't today." You never win a game on expected goals.
It's like being like, we won the game on corners.
Yeah. Bizarre. Anyway, game on Sunday. I forgot it was on. Didn't watch it live. Ended up watching the highlights. Seattle 4, Colorado 0. Seattle go to the top of the West. And they started the season with a bang. Both teams hit the bar in the first 4 minutes. And that was as good as it got for the Rapids.
Yeah.
Seattle scored 2 in each half. Jordan Morris got a pair of not exactly spectacular headers, but at the end of the day, they all count. Heber got his first goal in a Sounders jersey. And Christian Rodin started to write off in the 25th minute. Colorado, though, looked really poor, especially defensively.
Yeah, the goals were not great from the Flanders in this game. What was great was their opening day tifo. I don't know if you saw that, but it was quite a nice effort from ECS.
I didn't actually know.
It was like I forget what was on the top, but it was Brian Schmetzer DJing, and on the bottom it said, "Don't call it a comeback." It was very good, very well done.
A question for you guys, because you guys are probably, I don't know if you guys have talked about this yet. The Sounders Bruce Lee kit that there's coming.
That was my number one jersey.
Yeah, my cousin is interested in getting it because he's a big Bruce Lee fan. But I told him that if you're going to get it, you have to let me buy you a patch to cover up the Sounders patch if you're going to buy it. Because there are like Bruce Lee patches out there. So you can actually get a Bruce Lee patch to cover it up. So I thought if you do this, you got to let me get a patch. So that's acceptable then, right? I don't have to disown it.
Yeah, I saw that there was some scarves with the design on it as well at the game.
Yeah.
There might be some other SSFC stuff on the thing you might have to cover up too.
Yeah, Zach's really good at covering up stuff that's got SS on it, so it's like just have a word with him.
You just set yourself up there, Zach.
Siders is what I meant when he moved to Collective.
Gotcha.
Not sure what else you guys are talking about. So 2 games were postponed, of course, this weekend. The LA Derby was postponed for thunderstorms and rain and
they just shifted it back a few days.
Yeah, they just shifted it back to July 4th. It's
I guess
fine.
the good thing is you can't say it was they put out the traveling fans, at least, you know.
No, at least that.
Other than Manu Vet went down for the LA Derby.
He did, but he got to tour all these other things, so I'm sure he was happy.
Oh, he had fun, yeah.
But yeah,
Baseball.
Portland KC was pushed back for snow, and then I'd looked at the weather, and the weather app hadn't said snow, and then I saw a picture of the pitch, and it's like thick snow in Portland, so that made sense. So that snow-delayed game was the final action in Major League Soccer for the opening weekend, and it ended with a second Cascadian victory as well in 2 days. The Whitecaps, the only Cascadian team to let the side down, so to speak. Portland come away with a 1-0 win over Sporting Kansas City. Juan Mosquera got the only goal of the game just 6 minutes in as well. Took it well, nice finish under the keeper. Appeals from KC for offside, but it was a good goal in the end. Both teams had the chances. KC had the chance to tie things up. The Timbers had the chance to put it away. Overall, having not made the postseason last year, it was a good win for Portland and gets this campaign off to a good start. The only bad thing for them really was that Jimmy Chara went off in the 33rd minute with an injury, and they'll be hoping that one isn't too serious. Haven't heard the update at the time of recording this right after the match. So the first weekend of action ends with Seattle top of the pile on goal difference with 4 goals scored and none conceded for their 3 points. 5 teams won their opening games: Seattle, St. Louis, Salt Lake, Minnesota and Portland. And rooted at the bottom, it's Colorado with their -4 goal difference. 6 other teams on -1 goal difference after their opening game defeats. And the only other thing to make note of here, we spoke a lot about this in the build-up to these games, that there's teams that didn't qualify for the playoffs last season that you know are going to be pushing hard to get above the line this year. Obviously aided by the fact that it's 9 teams getting in from the 14. But of those 7 teams that did not qualify last year for the postseason, it is only Seattle and Portland that got wins on the opening weekend this year. So maybe there isn't going to be too much difference. But Vancouver finished the opening weekend in 9th position. That's good enough for a play-in game at least. Small victories, and from little acorns did giant chestnuts grow. So that was the West. We're not really going to look at the East, but I do want to cover a little bit of the Canadian content, the 2 Canadian teams. So it was DC 3, Toronto 2. Lovely 13th minute low long ranger from Klitsch to put DC up.
No one challenged. He walked in from the half.
It was about 40 yards? Was it from his own half?
Yes, it was inside his own half.
I thought he got it just inside the other half. Oh, wow.
No, it was bad.
TFC fought back in the second, though. Bernadeschi penalty in the 66th.
Nice penalty.
Or DC need Isaac Bowman goals to keep that one out. And 16-year-old Akinboni gave away a stupid penalty with a challenge on Larea. It's got to be said.
Yeah.
It's the impetuousness of youth. I think that's what it was.
It was a very calm, cool, collected penalty.
And then Mark Anthony Kay looked like they may have got the winner for them with 7 minutes to go. And I've seen Mac get a lot of abuse online, folks saying he's just not good enough, he's lost a step, they need to replace him. So I think that's a big moment for him to get that as a confidence booster. Nice volley as well. He still had a lot to do after Tyler Miller had tipped a Bernadeschi free kick. Fantastic free kick, by the way. Into the post. Only for late drama. Christian Benteke levelled in the 90th with a header. A nice little push off as well to lose his marker, I thought. And the drama in the Atlanta game, the drama in this one as well, is Theodore Coup Di Pietro got a 98th minute winner. Nice control to tuck it away. His first ever MLS goal. Great win for DC. You saw the joy in Robbo as he celebrated with Rooney.
Lines right there.
Put himself in the shop window to take over again.
That was him, right?
I was Robbo, yeah. It was
that's
Robbo,
yeah.
Worryingly for TFC, and I haven't actually checked to see the status of Insigne, he hobbled off with what looked like a groin injury in the first half. He just overstretched to get to a ball and pulled up right away. Did not look happy going to the bench.
He'll be out a minimum, I would say, 3 weeks minimum.
Oh dear, what a shame, never mind.
The Minister of Defence got invaded there too 3 times. So that's
Yes.
not there.
Not so much a good minister there. And then Steve's Miami storming off to a 2-0 win. His tip for the 2020 MLS Cup, or 2021, it might even have been.
I can't remember what year it was.
Every year. It's every year, Steve. 2-0 win over Montreal. A crotch goal, maybe from Christoph. 4 minutes before half-time, gave Miami the lead. Horrible Montreal defending.
Mm-hmm.
They look like they might be in tough this year with all their departures. Then Borgelin sealed the deal for Miami in the 76th.
Pantemis was put off because Miami won the near post header off the corner. And so he was kind of coming to it, and the ball got looped over him, and he was like in no man's land. And the guy sort of quad crotched it into the net. And then Pantemis, of course, made a free kick, and he poorly handled the ball, and as the rebound came out, then he got injured, right? And he had to be subbed off.
Oh, yeah,
Or Sirois.
So Sirois came in, so yeah. Hasn't been a great off-season for Montreal in terms of players, and it does look like they could be in tough with that. But that is it for our MLS chat. So, Har, I know you have to leave us just now, so where can folk find you online?
You can find my stuff on the internet, so go on the internet, find it, read it, like it, and share it with your friends. So thank you for the support, everyone.
That's great. Thank you so much to Har for joining us for the first 3 parts. We've still got a part to go though, and we'll be looking at the MLS Pass on Apple TV and some local soccer club news that's not Whitecaps related after this.
Hey, I'm Julian Gressel, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Mention the Lord of the Rings just once more, and I'll more than likely kill you. More cock, Michael, more cock, you fervently moan. Is this a walk that you shoved down my throat, or are you just pleased to see me? Brian Moore's head looks uncannily like London Planetarium. And all those people who you romantically like to still believe are alive or dead. So I'll wipe my snot on the arm of your chair as you put another Roger Dean poster on the wall. God, I could murder a Cadbury's flake, but then I guess you wouldn't let me into heaven. Or maybe you would, cause their adverts promote oral sex. A Romany bint in a field with her paints, suggesting we faint at her beauty. But she's got Dickie Davis eyes.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part is perennial favourites here at AFTN Towers, Half Man, Half Biscuit, with a single on their second album, Back Again in the DHSS. It reached number 86 in the UK charts, but number 1 in the UK indie charts. It's not one of their football songs, but it does feature a football reference in it. It's a play on Kim Carnes' song Betty Davis Eyes. That was Dickie Davis Eyes. Dickie Davis was a famous UK sports presenter. He presented a sports show called World of Sport on ITV from 1968 to 1985, a host of other things. That song does feature the line, Brian Moore's head looks uncannily like London Planetarium, which is name-checking another legendary football commentator, Brian Moore. Was also the name of a Gillingham FC fanzine that we swapped with AFTN back in the day. But I dug that out because last show we paid tribute to the late great John Motson, who passed away on Thursday. 4 days before that, another legend from UK sports broadcasting, Dickie Davis, passed away. The man name-checked in that song passed away last Sunday, aged 94. And if you're around my age and from the UK, then he was the sporting anchor from your kind of childhood that you just grew up watching. World of Sport had everything on it. It had football, it had darts, it had NFL. That's the first of me seeing NFL games on UK TV. He presented that. And wrestling, Steve. Big Daddy, giant haystacks, the old school wrestling.
Was it similar to I guess it was similar to what we had on ABC. Zach probably remembers the Wild World of Sports.
I think it was something like that from what I've seen and read about that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like, that's where the line came, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, or something like that. I can't remember. I think that's where that term came from. So it's probably very similar. Probably ABC probably got that idea from ITV. In fact, I think the guy that hosted the Wild World of Sports was the guy that called the Whitecaps a village, or Vancouver a village, the village of Vancouver. He's the one that actually said it. He was the main host of the Wild World of Sports, so it's actually got a Whitecaps tie too.
That's the wanker we have to thank for that whole marketing campaign.
Well, he didn't know it.
I like
he thought it was. He thought it was a village.
Good. I'm joking. I like the original. The marketing campaign was awful in my opinion.
Yeah, Village of the Damned. That's a good film. Not about the Whitecaps.
But they had to stop using the village because MLS went to cities last year, right, or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
interesting. I like the whole village marketing campaign, but so we're going to talk about a couple of things in this part. We're going to look at some news coming out in the local soccer scene, non-Whitecaps related, but I want to just start this part by having a little chat about the MLS Pass on Apple TV. I thought it was a very good opening weekend for it. I've got to say I was pretty impressed with what I saw. Obviously, they are kind of preaching to the converted here with fans that got it with their season tickets or media and folk that are fans of the league. It's the casuals, obviously, that they really need to convert to make it worthwhile financially for them. But I think on the whole, it was a great start. Zach, I know you got a chance to watch some games. It was free to everyone this opening weekend. So, I mean, what did you make of it, Zach?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I think, like you said, I think earlier, the fact that all the games are in 4K is very, very noticeable.
Well, actually, it turns out they're filmed in 4K, but the output is 1080p.
Oh, okay. Good. Well, anyways, it looks better than most of the stuff you get on.
Well, considering like football that you've got at 720. And I watched a game on that recently, and I was like, geez, the quality was just absolutely shocking. Actually, it might have been one of the one soccer games that I watched on it. I think it was, actually. It was one of the She Believes games that I watched on it. I thought it was terrible quality.
Yeah. Like, I think once a week in the Bundesliga, you'll get the 4K on Sportsnet. And so, yeah, I always notice when I watch that match live or PVR that match. This week it was Dortmund-Hoffenheim. And it felt like that. Yeah, it felt like really so much better quality. I think the most enjoyable part though was they 360, right?
The Pepperine show.
Yeah,
as I like
360, which is like, I think in the Bundesliga, I don't know if they still do it. I think they do. I think it's called Conference, where they have all the games going, and when something happens, they go to a game or whatever. I think that was really, really well done. Obviously, we'll talk in a minute about ways they can improve that. But that was enjoyable. I think for like you said, Michael, for those who are into MLS already, I think this will make them like the league more on a whole, not just their own club that they support it week in, week out. And I think I saw Bill Curry talking about this online. Like this, he thinks this will help move other sports forward in North America in a similar way. But yeah, I thought it was really, really, really good. I like too how they had most of the games in the one slot. I know they had the delays and whatever, but like you had that one game standalone early, and then you had almost all the games kind of going at one time.
Yeah, that's what they're
quite enjoyable.
For. What do you mean moving other sports forwards? I didn't get that.
I think the whip around or whatever, like the 360 show where you have commentators talking about different games and then going live when something significant is happening.
They already do that with NFL. It's called the Red Zone.
Oh, do they? There you go.
Of course,
they already have that. So, and NHL they don't have that. But the one thing that about the actually, that might be a negative, so I'll talk about that in a second. The positive I actually liked was it was very easy to navigate on the app
Yeah.
itself. You can see the games coming up. You can see the scores, the live scores. You can see if they're changing. What again? I'll talk about the negatives in a second, but I think the ability to navigate in the app was really good. I never got to see the other parts of the shows, like the whip around show and everything, so I can't really speak on that. But overall, I thought it was other than the Whitecaps like sound issues, I think it was really well presented.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the big positive was the picture quality. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. I don't even have a 4K TV for it to be showing on, and it was good. I liked that they had 4-minute and 1-minute previews for every game that you could go into to learn a bit from each side, and just some player interviews from the week, which I thought was good. The MLS 360 for me, it's been what this league has needed for a while. The other thing that they really need is a proper highlight show, a one-stop shop, a match of the day style show that you just sit down, you get the highlights of every game, and then the pundits talking about the main talking points of it. It's something I'm used to growing up with. Match of the day sports scene in Scotland is the one that we've had. The only thing I would say, if we look at some negatives from the 360, if we just look at that first of all, I think they need to maybe not spoil what's coming up. I think they got better as the show went on.
Yeah, they got better because there was a point they're like, hey, we're going to go to this game. Guess who scores the next goal? Like, they didn't tell you. But yeah, they can improve that, right? Because what you don't want, I mean, I don't know if conference does, I don't know if the German thing does this, because I think the German thing is, oh, there's a goal here, we'll go watch the replay. The thing that I liked that they did in this game was like, there's a goal coming up. They actually rewinded it for you a bit so you could see the play develop. And see
you don't know who's going to get it because the possession changed hands.
Exactly,
and
it's like, yeah.
And then there was a couple of live moments that they'd cut to game, and there was a goal as well, which was fantastic.
So the thing is why not even mention there's a goal coming up? Why not just go to the game? Because the NFL Red Zone, that's what they do.
Oh, you could just say that. There's an action point coming up.
Let's switch. Just say let's switch over to this game.
Yeah,
and then let it run out, and then the goal happens, and then people understand. Yeah, there's a goal coming up. Don't mention that there's a goal coming up. There's no need to do that because people are watching 360, they're going to watch it anyways, no matter what, whether there's a goal or not. And that kind of gets you in the flow of the game, kind of thing. The one thing I didn't like about like the whole point, if you're going to have one network doing all this and you're gonna have all the games at the same time, I felt there was very little interaction between like whoever was at that head studio and the actual Whitecaps game. Like there was no interaction. You want to have some kind of interaction, saying, "Oh, it's crazy going on right here," and then just show a quick highlight or something in the Whitecaps game, or like you know what I mean? Like it's like combine all the games together, even though you're watching the one main game. What if that game gets boring and something else crazy is going on? You could switch to that game very easily. Like that's where you get a lot of casuals wanting to watch it then, because if you're being informed about other things going on, you could catch something crazy happening. Because remember, you could start at any point too. You could like start the game and rewind it or whatever. All that stuff is available.
I guess they would maybe feel that would interrupt the flow of the game a little bit. But
there's sometimes when it's dead. And why wasn't there any halftime show at all?
Well, I think that's the only thing. I think the halftime show is kind of also the MLS 360. So if you want to see people talking about stuff, you go to that. Whereas the halftime, some of the games that I watched, you were just getting footage from the stadium. The Nashville game, for example, they had that
was cool.
Band playing, yeah.
But I think that was because that was the standalone game, right?
Possibly. But yeah, it'd be nice if every show had a halftime show, but then you're putting the pressure on Doley and Blake. They don't get much of a break, but then they could bring some local media in to chat at halftime in the show and stuff as well.
What I'm saying is the half, like instead of showing the local thing, cut back to the studio, and they're the ones that take.
Oh, the right, show. Okay.
And that
would have made sense to save you having to come out of the game and go into the thing. Yeah.
Like you don't even leave; you actually like cut into it. I maybe they just don't have that ability right now with the app, but that's something that should be done.
It definitely needs something there. I mean, another thing as well is in Canada, there's no ads.
Yeah.
But in the US, there are ads. So what that led to in the 360 game is they would be saying, oh, we'll be back after this. And then you would just get a boring screen that just said MLS Season Pass. But in the US, they were showing ads. Now, I'd prefer no ads because you're paying for a service. But the still screen was horrible. Folks had given them the chance to go and make a cup of tea or grab a beer or whatever. But at the same time, it's eaten into the excitement of the game. Yeah. Because it's like they should treat that as like a 45 minutes because you wouldn't go to an ad break during the game. So keep the action going or do picture in picture. If you're going to do something like AEW do picture in picture, great. I think the way that they do stuff. So that would be the way around that. Obviously, in Canada, you wouldn't get any picture in picture, but then if you could have it
where the game's still going on or something like that, so you're in the flow of it.
Something on. So I didn't like that. That kind of took away from my enjoyment.
I don't even know why they're ads. If you're like you said, you're paying for a service. Why are there ads in there? Yes, you can have something scrolling at the bottom or like an overlay or something like that of an ad. Yeah, but I don't think there should be going to ads. I think that's stupid.
I'm okay with the ads, man. There's ads everything you go when if it's cable TV, if you go to the movies. Whatever.
Disney Plus doesn't have ads.
There's no ads there.
There's
Plus no ads on Netflix.
But many of the other services do.
I know some of them are looking at two things. One is with ads, and one you pay a bit more and you get no ads. But I mean, if I'm paying for something, I would prefer not to have ads.
If you're paying the regular rate of whatever $6.99 or whatever the rate is for Apple, and then on top of that you're paying another service fee for the games. I don't think you should have ads at all. I think it's
but that's okay. But I think if they had advertised, we don't have ads, then it's okay to expect no ads. But to expect just because it's a streaming service, no ad, there should be no ads. I don't know.
I just expected none.
You could sell advertisements as an overlay, or like Michael said, a picture in picture. You could do something like that, but I don't think there should be where it takes over the game completely.
I think that they shouldn't have had the breaks. On the 360, there's no way that you should have had a break there and had nothing on the screen. And then surely they could do it different in different regions because they weren't showing commercials in this region. So they should have just left out on one of the games. That would have been much better.
360, did they say, this part of the game, this package of the game is presented by something like that? Did they say
because
that?
we're in Canada.
No. See, but that's the thing you want to do. That's
also it's worldwide as well. So it's like in the UK, in India, Australia. I wonder what it was like there.
Do they probably had blank screen too? I'm assuming they had blank. But that's where you do the sponsorship. Let's say, let's go to this game. It's sponsored by this or a company or whatever. So you have sponsorships in the game.
That way.
If anyone knows how to hack into it, so we can get an AFTN logo up there, just get in touch.
Yeah. The other thing that for me that wasn't great, and I just haven't figured this out, and I just don't know how I have to update. I can watch the MLS stuff on my TV, Apple Plus, whatever, on my smart TV. I can't on my iPad for some reason. It won't.
You might not have. Yeah, it's only a set operating system.
Okay.
So Har had that issue, whereas she could watch it on her iPad, but she couldn't watch it. No, she couldn't watch it on her iPad, but she could watch it on her iPhone because it was a new iPhone. So people that's got before, I think it's 16 point something.
Yeah, older.
It doesn't work, which isn't ideal, I've got to say.
Yeah. That iPad, I think, is only like 3 years old too.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
The only other complaint I would have is I think you need less time looking at the back of the presenters'
heads watching the screen.
Yeah. It's like, I know you're watching it and stuff, but we don't need to see the back of you watching it. Just show us the action.
Yeah.
So that would be my only thing. But I mean, that's small complaints. On the whole, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah. And it is week one. They obviously will learn a lot. Maybe less Taylor Twellman, something like that.
Yeah, that would be good. I remember I was telling you, Michael, it reminded me of being, at the World Cup where I was watching BN all the time. And they had like 40 people they were cycling through all the time, and with a lot of Kale and Kyle in it as well. But yeah, I think I liked how they were having different people for different games or different moments or whatever. And I remember I was watching, I was like, oh, like Bradley White Phillips is here. And then I was like, oh, Bradley White Phillips is gone now.
Did they have people in the stadiums as well, or no? Like live people in the stadiums?
No, I don't think they
Similar.
did.
So they didn't do this UK thing or anything like that, where
No,
they like okay.
no. I was interested as well because I watched the Whitecaps game back on TSN after, and they didn't have the sideline reporters or folks speaking to Vanny.
Yeah,
So
they've
that's
really
That's an
pared
improvement.
down.
That's an improvement.
yeah. I'm sure Vanny's happy about that as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, but the thing is with that, it's like it is a common thing for broadcast to speak to the coach. So that probably jarred some people. Like, why is the coach speaking at halftime or something like that? So
I mean, on a whole, it was a great opening weekend. As Steve said, stuff's easy to find on it. The little documentaries they've got, there's going to be more stuff going up over the course of the season. So yeah, so far so good. There were like some long-time broadcasters that have kind of not been included in this. One of them, Eddie Robertson in Houston, had tweeted out that he's been involved with the Dynamo for 17 years and just kicked to the curb. So
the night before,
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, that was
that's
bad.
tough. Things like that are tough. They'd made a lot as well about how you could listen to the radio broadcast during the thing, and I wasn't able to find that, but it might just have been me. At least in the games that I was trying to find it with, I was trying to play about.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for it at all, so I'm not sure.
I wasn't looking for it during the Whitecaps when it was one of the other ones. I thought, I'm going to try this and see, and I couldn't find it. It might just be that club didn't have a radio
possibly
commentary or something. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Let us know what you thought. AFTN Canada on Twitter, aftncanada@hotmail.com. So far, so good. Let's hope it continues. Just to round off the show, we'll just have some quick chats about some stuff happening with the other local teams here in the Lower Mainland. Let's start off with Vancouver FC. Got another pre-season win under their belt against the kind of Unity FC League One side, the guys that were kind of trialling for them. So it's a lot of folk trying to see if they can make the grade. You were out at the game, Zach. Thoughts on the game and just from chatting to the folk that were at the game and anything that you want to share with us about it?
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was nice. It was a nice day, a little bit crisp. Because of some of my morning commitments, I missed the first couple minutes of the game, but I got there just in time for the opening goal. It was it wasn't as bad as the Austin game, but it was a very bad back pass from what's his name, Rocky Romeo. Am I pronouncing that right? Anyways, he made a very bad back pass to one of the Unity players who rounded the non-Callum Irving keeper to score. Romero was playing center back alongside of Pele, not the Brazilian.
I would hope not, unless that Ouija board's worked a treat.
So he had a couple. That was one moment. He also took a kind of a poor yellow card later, but then he did create and had a chance or two on set pieces later. The goals for Vancouver, the one was at the other end. It was I can't remember who scored them now. It was a nice goal. The winning goal was a cracker from again, I don't know his name, but number 34. I talked to him after the game briefly, but no, it was fun to be at football. It was fun to be outside. There were some encouraging signs. Obviously, still a lot to work on and still some players to bring in. I'm expecting we'll hear some names and maybe even some names we recognize coming to the club soon. But yeah, it was good.
Atiba.
Good to talk to David. David Osted was there.
Is he coming in as the goalkeeper? I'd take him.
No, he's focusing on other things, which we'll talk about some other time with him.
Yeah.
Rob Friend was hanging out. The Roger brothers. Who else was there? There's a few other people. A bunch of dudes from a bunch of people from the Fanatics were there, which was good.
And there's no truth to the rumours that the Rogers brothers are sponsoring the stadium and it's going to be Rogers Arena.
No truth to that rumor you just made up. No, but it was fun. It was exciting. For those who want to get out and watch some of these games, that obviously was a midday game.
I missed it. I was at the BC Place Food Fan Fest.
Shoving your face full of food
for a whole hour. It was fantastic.
The next one is Monday, March 6th,
yes,
7:15 p.m. right by Steve's local football pitch, Newton Athletic Park, their little stadium there. And then my understanding is
EB5 United is the opposition, VMSL and provincial champions.
Yep. So it should be a really, really good encounter. Also,
what day is that again?
Monday, March 6th.
1 week
And
from today.
a lot of well-known faces in that team as well. A lot of TSS players. Marcel de Jong plays for BB5 United.
Also,
some guys that could make it, maybe. But anyway,
my understanding is that there will be another friendly, or there'll be a few more.
Yeah.
But one of them will be Saturday, March 25th at Minero in Richmond against the Tigers.
Oh,
that hasn't been announced yet, but look for that to get confirmed and announced, and that'll be another fun one to go and watch.
Fantastic. Yeah, looking forward to getting out to the BB5 game. That should be a good one.
Yeah,
So
and if the weather shows the way it's supposed to be right now, I could probably attend too.
well, they've got a roof as well at Newton, so that's always good. I just want to give a quick mention to TSS Rovers. Tickets are on sale now for their Canadian Championship game at Swangard against Valour on April 19th. tssfc.ca/tickets is the link to get that. You can also buy some tickets and donate it back to various youth clubs to get people that maybe wouldn't be able to normally attend the game along to that one. tssfc.ca/donate tickets is the link there. TSS were also on CTV Morning Live on Thursday. Jay Demerit, club ambassador, and Connor McMillan, one of the players, were at the TSS studios. And we're not that big yet. CTV studios on Thursday morning. I went down with the guys for that one as well. That was a lot of fun. I guess I should do full disclosure as well and say that I am the media officer for TSS Rovers for this year for the Canadian Championship and stuff. So any other sort of blogs and podcasts listen to this that maybe want to get some TSS coverage, hit me up and we'll get you sorted out for that as well. So that is pretty much it for this show, but of course we've still got time for this episode's wavelength. We're going back to a song from 2022 for this week from an Essex punk band, just a two-piece punk band, but wait till you hear the noise that they generate. It's from their 2022 Lockdown Singles EP that you can get on Bandcamp and everywhere else where you get your music. They're called The Meffs, MEFFS. This is their song, Football. From Essex, England, The Meffs, Football. Hope you enjoyed that one. Check them out, themeffs.bandcamp.com. That is it for the show. Just before we go though, guys, let us know where they can find you online. Any final thoughts, Steve?
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat, and I actually counted. I was keeping track. I said zonal 36 times in this podcast.
See if we can beat that next time.
Sure,
Zach, any final thoughts from you? Where can folk find you online?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM, or get in touch about the FV Fanatics on Twitter or at gmail.com. Looking forward to some more of this preseason for our local CPL side. And there will be, I don't know if you know this, Mike, there will be some other CPL sides visiting for preseason.
Yes, my understanding is that a few of the CPL teams are coming through here to play some friendlies against local clubs. I got Halifax's pre-season schedule today, and I quickly checked to see if they were coming here. They're going to Florida. Losers. Who wants to go to the heat of Florida when you can come and play some cold weather games here in BC? Yeah. Anyway, I am Michael McCall. You can get all our stuff, AFTN Canada on Twitter, aftncanada@hotmail.com if you want to get in touch by email. AFTN Canada is our YouTube handle as well. We'll be back with another episode soon, chatting about the Whitecaps game against San Jose, looking ahead to the Whitecaps Canadian Championship game. We'll have a nice player interview for you as well. We'll be back with that next weekend. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care. Stay safe in the snow. Mon the Caps. And mon Vancouver FC and TSS Rovers as well. Bye, everybody.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.